Good morning, everyone. My name is Rob Corley, and I'm the CEO of NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. And on behalf of my board of directors, I'd like to welcome you to this grand opening event. Today, we celebrate the culmination of many years of work on behalf of our most vulnerable, those who do not have a home. Today, we'll be cutting a ribbon and opening a new building that will provide 18 emergency shelter beds and 22 studio apartments for permanent supportive housing for those experiencing chronic homelessness. And we are finally here. You know, at NeighborWorks, we are just so proud to be part of a project that is not just housing, but actually helping people start over, to heal and stabilize and rebuild their lives and their relationships. We're humbled to be working with partners who make miracles happen for the homeless every day. To Catholic Charities and Father Bills of Mainspring, I want to thank you for letting us all be part of your amazing work on the front lines, transforming lives. But truly, the support for projects like this start right here at the local level in the City of Attleboro. We have never quite seen an outpouring of support that we've seen in this city. At all of our zoning and public meetings, I mean, this is a first, the support for this development was nearly unanimous. Thanks in large part to our attorney, Jack Jacoby at Coogan Smith, but we especially want to thank the City of Attleboro and its residents for their support during this project from beginning all the way through the construction project and where we are today. I'd like to ask the Economic Development Director of the City of Attleboro, Chris McDermott, to come up and say a few words of welcome on behalf of the city. Chris?
Thank you very much. This is an amazing event, an amazing day, and an amazing facility, truly beyond my wildest expectations. So thank you to you and your entire team at NeighborWorks, and also I want to thank Representative Hawkins for everything you did to bring us all together today. Representative Scanlon and Senator Feeney as well. Of course, I want to acknowledge the Lieutenant Governor and the Undersecretary as well. Thank you both for coming out here to Attleboro. And also to councilors, I know they're throughout the crowd, but Waterman, Lavoie, and Angela for coming out today too. This is an amazing facility. It addresses an acute need, not just for the City of Attleboro, but also the Commonwealth as a whole. And we very much appreciate the support of all our partners in bringing this together, both public and private. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
So the mayor couldn't be with us this morning because I believe there's a water crisis, as we're all aware of, so she sends her regrets, and she was also a great supporter of this project, so we thank the mayor as well. So our next speaker has been a staunch supporter of this project and has been a not-so-secret weapon who has really made this project one of his top priorities for several years. This state rep has truly been amazing, and to use a basketball analogy, he's been running point on this project for several years. To tell us more about the history of the project, please join me with a warm welcome for the Pleasant Street Iron Man, State Rep Jim Hawkins.
I might have finished one or two Ironmans, but this is better. This is better. When this first came up, it was Janet Ricciardi, who was one of our crew, Steve Duplessis, a couple people. We believed that this could happen, and we had nothing to show for it. Just a great idea, and people from the community rallied around us. Susan Lee is our realtor. I said, Susan, if we like this property, we don't even have a name or money to buy it with, and she kept working with us. From Coogan Smith, they did our 501c3 for us. They had no idea whether we'd ever have money to pay for that. La Salette Shrine offered to give us the proceeds from their Italian night, and I don't think they actually made any money, but they still came through to offer us a check because they said they would, and I couldn't tell them what name to put on the check because, oops, we haven't done that yet. And Nick Christ from Bay Coast Bank, I met him at an event at Bristol Community College, and I told him what we were thinking about, and it was like the world stopped. He wanted to hear all about that. And a couple weeks later, a group of us were in his office, and he gave us a very generous donation to help get this rolling. I went to the State House, and we do earmarks for our own communities in the State House, and usually we take care of our own. I got support from across the state on this when I told everybody what this was and why we needed it. And at that point I realized this is a crazy job to have. You've got to run for office every 2 years, you've got to campaign, you've got to always be fundraising and doing that stuff. But if this is the only thing that I ever got out of it, it was worth all that work. So because of the generosity of Bay Coast Bank, the earmarks I was able to get in the State House, we were able to fast forward this, and the magic sauce to this was getting involved with NeighborWorks. They are the pros in this field, and from really loose ends, a nice idea, they put this into action with a program. And we had our groundbreaking a year ago, and the building is weeks away from having people move in. This is crazy. They do things that you can't believe, and to involve Catholic Charities, Sue Mazzarella, John Rosinski from Father Bill's, to get them involved. They are the best in the field. So we truly have the best working here to make this happen. It's an amazing project, and somehow, when we did this couldn't be in a residential neighborhood, it couldn't be in a retail neighborhood, it couldn't be on the site of a former factory. And right now, we're across the street from Bristol Community College, which has programs for the people who will be living here, and Mass Hire program there. It's walking distance to Sturdy Hospital, to Man Health, to Literacy Center, to Library, to YMCA, and it's on public transportation. I've got to say, I'm looking around the room, and I think everybody in this room had something to do with this. It takes a village. Everybody here, everybody who's inside listening to me talk, had something to do with this happening. And it's just amazing, and I am so proud to be part of this. Now, my distinct honor also, this comes with some perks, is I get to introduce the Lieutenant Governor. Kim Driscoll, with the new administration, a couple things have changed. The administration now realizes that there is life outside of 128. Kim Driscoll has been out to this community several times, which is something that didn't happen before. And as a former mayor, she understands the needs of a community and how a community functions. She's very relevant to this discussion. And also part of the new administration is a focus on housing. And the support from the administration for this project is just amazing. And please, I would like to be short with my remarks. I just want to introduce the Lieutenant Governor.
I'm not sure introducing me is a perk, but I really do appreciate the warm introduction and the opportunity to come here today to celebrate all of you with gratitude, to be here in company with Senator Feeney, Rep. Scanlon, the who's who of the housing world, Roger, Joyce, Rob. Obviously the work that we're doing with Catholic Charities and Father Bill's really matters to the most vulnerable residents of our Commonwealth. And to be in this community where you've worked so hard to deliver this amazing home for people who are your most vulnerable neighbors is pretty special. And so I just want to say thank you, and with real gratitude. Governor Healy and I are so fortunate to be in these roles because we get the opportunity to not only be at events like this, but to help shape policies and shift resources and make sure we're thinking about what are the needs of the Commonwealth. And it is the whole Commonwealth. I was the mayor of Salem. I'm sorry to miss Kathleen, but as a mayor, I know your job is never done. And so she's off trying to solve the water crisis, which is also important. I was mayor in Salem for 17 years. And for me, that meant being able to work on those day-to-day issues that really impact individuals, whether it's educating kids, keeping neighborhoods safe, ensuring we have the type of housing we need to serve the diverse populations that live in cities, right? We want to be a place that's livable for folks who struggle, for folks who have done well, for young adults, for older adults, for working families. And that means we need to invest in housing in order to have those spaces at a time when housing is just such a vulnerable need across all of Massachusetts. I can be in the tiniest town in Beckett, Massachusetts in Western Mass and talk with folks about what's their number one issue, and it's housing. I can be in a vast urban center. What's the number one issue? Housing. It's not affordable enough, there's not enough of it, and we're not serving the people who we rely on the most. Somebody you might drop your kids off to in the morning, or might help care for an older adult. You know, the heroes during COVID who were stocking shelves and checking out groceries, they need to be able to live in our communities as well. And certainly, individuals who are struggling, whether it's with any form of trauma that may have impacted their life, that find themselves unhoused. Those are the most vulnerable people in our community. And to have residents, fellow neighbors, step up and say, we're gonna come up with a plan, to have committed leaders who are going to ensure it gets over the goal line, to have the best of the best when it comes to developing it and operating it and having that combination of services to help people who will stay here, who will live here, who will get services here. That doesn't happen everywhere. It's happening here in Attleboro because of you. So I come to you with gratitude. As a Commonwealth, we'd like to set state policy, but housing gets built in communities, with community leaders, with individuals who are willing to give of themselves for others. And that's what all of you have done. So we're proud to be an administration that's investing $5 billion in the housing bond bill. You'll hear from our Undersecretary, Chris Thompson, who may talk about that. We are working hard to ensure that we're in partnership with communities. Where do you want the housing built? How do we build the type of housing that you need, given the demographics and data that are here? And how do we work together to achieve that? With partnerships, whether it's nonprofits or private sector, we need market rate housing too. And if we can do that and be successful, that means we are going to have folks who are not only housing secure, but more food secure. We're going to see families whose children don't have to worry about where they're going to do their homework or how they're going to ensure that they can be successful moving forward. And we know that the folks that are leaving Massachusetts the highest, the biggest categories are not seniors retiring to Florida, although today that doesn't sound like the worst plan. It's 26 to 35-year-olds. And they want some of the same things that those of us when we were 26 to 35-year-old wanted, which is they want to buy a home and raise a family. And right now our housing prices can make that really, 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 really difficult. So by investing in housing, whether it's for our most vulnerable populations like this project, or supporting new housing in ways that can help support your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, that person you know, your favorite waitress at the diner, or individual who bags your groceries, the place you shop. Like, that's what community is really all about. So I'm here to celebrate community, Attleboro, getting the job done for your neighbors and for your city, and that means you're also getting the job for Massachusetts. So thanks for what you're doing. Congratulations on an amazing project.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I remember one of the first meetings we had with you at MACDC, as a matter of fact. You came into the room and you said, we are not going to admire the problem. And that mantra stuck with me from the very beginning. And your administration has not been admiring the problem. You've been putting the money where the mouth is, right? And delivering, and I'm so grateful for your support of this project and all that we're doing in the affordable housing space. So thank you so much. Let's hear it for the Lieutenant Governor one more time. So our next speaker has been at the forefront of our shelter crisis in this state and is focused on new and creative solutions for those experiencing homelessness from all possible areas, from diversion to the creation of permanent supportive housing, like you see here today. The Undersecretary is someone we literally see, I literally see him everywhere, working on behalf of families and individuals in desperate need of assistance. Please join me in welcoming our good friend, the Undersecretary of Housing Stabilization, Chris Thompson.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, LG. And this is a full room. You know, I'm used to visiting some of our projects and being out there and seeing a lot of people. Sometimes they're holding signs and not always coming with the support that this community is showing. So it is wonderful to be here and to see all of you here today. As you've heard, this administration is committed to housing. And I'm here representing the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. That was something that did not exist a few years ago. And I'm proud to be here on behalf of Secretary Ed Augustus and EOHLC in supporting this project. We are not only when we're committed to housing, responding in adapting quickly to the situation on the ground, which has changed dramatically over the past couple years. But we're committed to working hard to tackle the root causes of homelessness and ensure that individuals and families that need it have a clear path out of homelessness. I can't thank our partners at NeighborWorks and at Father Bill's and Catholic Charities enough. Rob and John are two people I call on a regular basis, and they're always there for us at HLC and our innovative partners. And this is just another example of a community coming together and provider partners coming together to make something special happen. The work you do exemplifies the values we hold dear in Massachusetts, and that includes helping our neighbors and offering a helping hand to those who need one. And I'd also like to thank Rep. Hawkins for your advocacy again on this project and for inviting us here today. It's not always easy to find strong and vocal supporters in communities, and I'd love to take this guy on the road with us. So I thank you. It does take a village, and when you have strong advocates at the local level, that makes all the difference in the world. So thank you, Rep. Hawkins. Our mission for the Division of Housing Stabilization is that homelessness in shelter is rare, brief, and non-recurring. And that means not just providing a bed or a roof over someone's head, but providing the services that people need to give them a path forward, to give them something they need and that we all need, and that's hope. And I see daily in our work with our providers on the front lines that they are doing that each and every day. Success stories of people moving into permanent housing, finding help with a job or recovery services, things that make a real difference in the trajectory of someone's life. And building in those wraparound services, just like they are here, can make all the difference. So EOHLC, we were proud to award $5 million in development subsidies and additional rental subsidies in funding to this project and the support of services. This shelter will go a long way towards helping alleviate homelessness in this region. I think it's amazing. We've heard that this is the first of its kind in this community, and really commend you on taking that step forward to serve those in need. And just know that you're a shining example of what we can do when we combine innovative solutions with compassion. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Our next speaker has been a passionate leader and champion of people in need his entire political career. He is no stranger to this project and has been supportive of our efforts here from the very beginning. He's a person who deeply understands the impact of our work and mission and is always connecting us back to why this is so important for those that we serve. Please join me in welcoming State Senator Paul Feeney.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Wow. I told Rob when I came in this morning, you all know I'm a fan of words and I love to speak, and I think words matter. But I said, I did something different when I was coming here this morning. I didn't prepare any remarks because I want to feel it. I want to feel this. And I don't know if you feel it yet, but you should. You should. The words that have been used not only encapsulate why this is so important, but really should be a call to action. Like we just heard from the Undersecretary, that this is a shining example and should be a model for the way these things work across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I am so honored and thrilled to be able to partner and work with my brother from another mother, Rob Corley, who I have so much respect for, and to be here with the Lieutenant Governor, who, along with Governor Healy and Secretary Augustus and the Undersecretary and the entire team of the administration, have really focused on people, understanding that infrastructure is important, that policy is important, but underlying all that is people. And in Massachusetts, that's what we focus on. We do things differently here. And I'm so proud to be from Massachusetts and to be here with the Lieutenant Governor. Representative Jim Hawkins, oh my God. What more can be said about Jim? I can remember when we first talked about this, and he said, all right, Senator, and oftentimes we'll talk late at night about strategy, and he says, all right, this is what we're trying to do. I said, how are you going to do that? He goes, oh, I don't have any idea. I have no clue. But what the hell, let's go for it. And that is what we truly need in our elected officials, somebody who is like a dog with a bone when they get an idea, and pushes and persists through adversity. To Representative Adam Scanlon, another great partner in the delegation who was supportive and a champion for so many things that we're doing to lift people up. Mayor DeSimone, the members of the Municipal Council that are here, and the taxpayers in the City of Attleboro. It's been mentioned already that this project, unlike many others across the Commonwealth, received almost no opposition. There weren't people here with signs. There weren't people chaining themselves to the front door or to the builders, right? That says something. That says something not only about our city leaders, but about the people of Attleboro, right? That says something. That shows who we are in this area and what's in our DNA. The Father Bills and Mainspring and my friend John and your team, the incredible work that you do, Catholic Social Services, Mass Department of Housing and Community Development, Northern Bristol County Assistance Collaborative, which I'm glad you all have a checkbook now, Rep. Hawkins, to our lenders, Bay Coast Bank. I see Bay Coast here as well, and their important contributions to this project, and to the builders and tradespeople. I haven't been in this building yet this morning, but I was here when they were building, and to see folks here with a mission and expertly applying their trade, I knew they were making a difference in changing lives, even if they didn't understand it at the time. You know, and this becomes, you go to show up at work, you do a job. I wanted them to know, and I want them to know today, how important their work is and what they've done here in the City of Attleboro. And to Joyce, where'd you go, Joyce? From MASH and Mahasa and all the, Joyce, thank you for all the work that you do, for being, not only for putting the words into action and for building and doing everything that you do and supporting all the organizations that you work with, but for being a great advocate, for being my mentor in this space in the legislature. Joyce, thank you for all that you do. I want to, as I was sitting there just writing down some remarks, and again, wanting to kind of feel this whole project, I wanted to comment obviously on the people of Attleboro and the elected officials, but I also want you to understand what's happening here. Not just what's happening here today, what's happening with the administration and kind of our mindset shift here in Massachusetts. Folks, we are in a crisis. There's no doubt about it. The Lieutenant Governor has been saying that, the Governor has been saying that we need to be mindful of the crisis that exists. Not only those that are unhoused right now, that are homeless today, but those that are one pink slip away from poverty, those that are one medical bill away from sleeping in their cars. We are facing a crisis across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and we need housing at every level. I'm so proud that Attleboro and our district, my Senate district, are moving towards that, identifying the needs to increase housing, even when they meet opposition, persisting through that adversity, because it's worth it. But when I look at the problem of chronic homelessness, something that's been very close to my heart since over 7 years ago when I got sworn into the Senate, in the richest country in the history of civilization, in a place like Massachusetts that has so much opportunity, we shouldn't just resign ourselves to chronic homelessness. Is something that we have to deal with, and it's going to exist. My friends, we can end chronic homelessness in Massachusetts, not just in our lifetime, but in the next few years. We can end chronic homelessness here in Massachusetts. And it's projects like this, and the work that John does, and Father Bills, and the work that Rob and his team at NeighborWorks, they are moving towards that. Mahasa and MASH, we can end chronic homelessness. It's not something that we could just throw up our hands and say, well, it's going to cost us. When you look at the cost of of medical bills and first responders and emergency. We can meet people where they are. We can help them. We can help them lift themselves up. That's what we can do, and that's what we're doing with this project. When you come into that shelter downstairs and you walk through that front door, that downstairs is providing hope. Upstairs is providing a future. Think of that. Think of that. Think of what we're doing here in Attleboro, not just to shelter people and triage the most emergent needs and our most vulnerable, which we should be doing and we have to do. But then to take the next step and realize that throughout this country, right now, there are debates and there are elected officials that make people jump through hoops if they're homeless. They make them jump through hoops to try and earn their way into housing. But in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and in Attleboro, we take a different approach. We say that your housing is a human right. That we don't expect you, if you're dealing with substance use issues or addiction, we don't expect you to find a moment of clarity while you're sleeping on a bench in a park. We're going to provide stability. We're going to provide physical and mental health services that are so important to giving people a future in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I was reading recently about another city, and I know these are tough debates that local officials and state officials are having across the Commonwealth, where they've taken a different approach recently because of the crisis in their city. But I'm proud. I am extremely proud today, in the shadow of this building, that the City of Attleboro and our region and my district, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, throughout the state, we're making a decision, a deliberate decision not to criminalize homelessness, not to sweep up encampments, not to throw people out of our cities and make it somebody else's problem. We're making a decision that we're not going to criminalize homelessness. We're going to stabilize people. We're going to give them hope. We're going to adopt this novel concept here in Massachusetts that to end chronic homelessness, we give people a home. We give them a key. We give them something. We're going to give them something where they can live in stability and be proud of. That is the answer. That is the answer. And I know it's difficult and I know it's challenging. But if you are inspired by being here today and the work that you've done to make this happen, then please continue to drive forward with that. Drive forward with that message that in Attleboro it's going to work. In other places across Massachusetts it can work as well. I am so grateful for all of you that are here, for all of you that took part in this, for all of you for meeting people with compassion and with love. That is the answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Always very difficult to follow the senator, and but I sorry, Susan, I think you're next, but I do want to pull one nugget out from there. There's always something to pull from the center, and that is providing hope and providing a future. That's a beautiful, Senator, a beautiful thing for us to take with us, and thank you for your remarks. You know, it's been mentioned a few times, and I mentioned in my opening remarks that a project like this takes many, many years and many years in the making, but it's this type of project, the combination of shelter and permanent supportive housing that's been perfected over many years of hard work by so many leaders. In particular, I want to just give a shout out to John Yuzwinski, the CEO of Father Bill's in Mainspring, who's been pioneering this work for decades. Thank you, John. So, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. See, I tried to put a buffer there for you, Susan. The CEO of our partner agency here will be operating the 18-bed shelter that is located on the ground floor of this beautiful new building. She's been a key driving force for this project, and without her agency's commitment early on, we would not be where we are today. She's dedicated most of her career to this work, and I can tell you she has a deep personal commitment to serving those in need. Our friend, the CEO of Catholic Social Services, Susan Mazzarello. Catholic Charity.
Thank you. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
You see this beautiful building? It is more than just a facility. It's more than just a structure. It is the manifestation, the culmination of a dream a dream that was born out of a need. So the beginning of this dream and the start of our journey began actually a long time ago in January of 2018. Now Catholic Charities, we run the 18-bed shelter in Taunton, and at that time the facility was very small, and we learned from our landlord that they needed to repurpose that facility into something else. So in essence, our homeless shelter was going to be homeless. So what do? So we searched for other locations in Taunton, and we were not successful. And I had a discussion out of panic and desperation with Janet Ricciardi, who was a colleague, and she was the coordinator of the Southeast Regional Network to End Homelessness. And so we expanded our search and looked to Attleboro as a potential site. And at that time, the mayor of Attleboro supported the idea of establishing a home for our shelter in this city. So various meetings were held over months that extended into years. Members came and went, and our idea was losing momentum. And we were losing hope until the Iron Man came on the scene. I hear the music in my head right now, but I'm going to refrain from humming it. That's Representative Jim Hawkins. He became interested in this project, and he recognized and aligned with the need, and he championed the effort forward. As an Ironman athlete, his involvement said to us, "I will run this race with you and for you." And with focus and energy and drive, Rep. Hawkins secured earmarked funding, he engaged in outreach efforts, and he rallied political and community support, and he set the pace for the rest of us. This momentum included the creation of Northern Bristol County Community Action Committee, and we recognized at that time that the key to ending homelessness is affordable low-income housing, but therefore a shelter was not enough. People needed a place to transition to. They needed a home. Thus the concept of a facility with shelter and with permanent supportive housing units was born. So NeighborWorks was selected as the project developer, and of course they are known for making projects like ours a reality. And Emily Rothschild, she sculpted and crafted this project and worked to secure the funding. And to us observers and mere mortals, she was like a magician, turning the concept into a tangible reality. And of course, Father Bill's and Mainspring, the gurus of permanent supportive housing in the Brockton and Quincy areas, they were invited to join our collaboration to manage the 22 apartments. Of course, then the pandemic came, and although it impacted everything, our vision remained. And we as shelter providers learned valuable lessons that we've incorporated into our shelters. We learned that one shelter for the Attleboro-Taunton area was not enough. Both cities needed their own shelter resource. However, with this realization came the conundrum. Through the COVID years, we at Catholic Charities were able to renovate a rectory in Taunton, and we had the existing funds from the state contract for that shelter. But we did not have the funds for an additional shelter site in Attleboro. And I don't think I ever uttered those words out loud, other than to my chief financial officer. And I could feel the eyes of some of my board members here upon me. How are you going to support this? I don't know, which is never a good response for your board. But as luck or fate would have it, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, they released a new procurement for the individual shelter system for the first time in the history of the Commonwealth. They did a needs assessment of the areas in the state where resources were required. And of course, Northern Bristol County was identified as an area of need. How amazing and fortuitous. So Catholic Charities responded to the RFR for the funding for existing shelters that we run, but also for this new initiative. And we were awarded the contract. And now miraculously, we have the funds to run this shelter also. So thank you. And then, of course, the wraparound from the community, because we know homelessness is a community problem that needs a community solution. So from the initial building design, we knew we were working with a smaller space for the shelter that did not have a commercial kitchen. But enter Food and Friends, a program of the Attleboro Area Interfaith Collaborative. And they so generously will be providing dinner for our shelter guests 6 nights a week. And as this building materialized, the question arose of how to connect the unhoused with the apartment units. And this link is another extraordinary partnership. Community Counseling of Bristol County. They maintain the HUD-mandated coordinated entry list to identify potential candidates and to prioritize them based on need. So as you glean from my narrative, this path was neither smooth nor direct. It was circuitous, and it involved encountering the right people and the right resources at the right time. Our deepest and sincere gratitude to all who believed and invested in this vision, our service partners, our Mayor of Attleboro, for welcoming this project, our funders, our government advocates, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and especially the Attleboro community for its openness to this project and for its acceptance of the people that this project is designed to help. You do not know what a rare and special gift that is. So, how do you build a dream? Well, we're standing in it and we celebrate it. We offer it to those still struggling with their need, uncertain of their future. The path of this facility mirrors the path of our homeless. It begins with a need, then maybe a dream, grappling with uncertainty and fear, and then connecting with the people who will assist and will walk along the path with them until their dream becomes their reality. And so there's one final piece. Now that this building has been born, our little shelter on the first floor needs a name. So after thinking about it and getting a great deal of input, we've decided to call it Ascension House, as this building rose up from a wish. And as you know, ascension is a word of action. It means to rise up. So literally, individuals in our shelter will rise up to the second and the third floor of this gorgeous building into their new apartments. And symbolically, it is our hope, it is our prayer that they will ascend from the streets to the safety and acceptance of the shelter, that they will rise up from poverty into opportunity, that they will rise up from isolation to the acceptance of community, and that they will rise up from despair to hope. Thank you so much.
Wow, she did it. That was spectacular. Susan, so honored to be your partner in this work, as always. And our team at NeighborWorks, a shout out you heard, Emily Rothschild, Tim Doherty from NeighborWorks. They make all this very complicated financing. They're the miracle workers here on the construction and finance side. So let's hear it for Tim and Emily. There they are. And also, we actually have a construction company, an architect here, Westwork, and Curtis Construction. Curtis and Westwork have helped us build hundreds of units and properties just like this over the last 15, 20 years. So big congratulations and thank you to them. So as you've been hearing about this sort of collaboration of partners here, the Northern Bristol County Assistance Collaborative has been a big part of this from the very, very beginning. And without their efforts, we would not be here today. To tell us more about the collaborative and how this all started, how about a warm welcome for Steve Duplessis.
Well, good morning. Good morning. It's great to be here. The more in the room, the warmer it gets. I like that. This project has been a long time coming. I am the founding president of the Northern Bristol County Assistance Collaborative, which is the nonprofit behind this entire project. But it's been a long time coming. It started with a woman named Susan Marie Smith. Susan was a mom, a wife, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, taught Sunday school for 25 years at Memorial Baptist Church, a follower of Jesus, but she had a passion, a heart for women and men in homelessness. So she was a friend who knew all the homeless of Attleboro and the surrounding area by name, knew them, knew their story, was deeply involved in their life. About 10 years ago, 2015, Sue brought together a team and launched an emergency cold weather shelter hosted by Faith Alliance Church here in Attleboro, just down the street. Whenever the weather turned cold or snow was forecast, volunteers from the evangelical churches of Attleboro would come together in shifts and open up the shelter in the gym of Faith Alliance Church and host homeless from all around the area overnight. Unfortunately, COVID shut that shelter down in 2020. But Sue had put together a team for her vision, her dream of a permanent year-round shelter, not just an emergency cold weather shelter. And she had pulled together a team. Sue passed away in 2019 of cancer, but the team moved on with her dream. We had first many meetings of different organizations and individuals from the community meeting, it seemed like, for a couple of years, trying to figure out, how do we do this? How could this happen? But in the end, a small 3-person nonprofit, the Northern Bristol County Assistance Collaborative, was formed, and we began to get off the ground with generous donations from Memorial Baptist Church in Seekonk and huge generous donations from Bay Coast Bank. We were able to hire consultants that were necessary to bring the project together. We were able to hire the lawyers and the accountants that were necessary to help us move forward. And so the dream got off the ground, led by our president, Janet Rishardi, from the South Coast Regional Network to End Homelessness. She brought the team together. We saw more generous donations from Bay Coast Bank. We were able to hire the team that was necessary. And those donations were overseen by our treasurer, Matt Flanagan, a vice president of Bay Coast Bank. And those donations helped us to hire the amazing Emily Rothschild, the consultant who helped us find and build a relationship with our development and operations partners, NeighborWorks, Westwork Architects, Curtis Construction. Special thanks to Eddie and his construction team. Guys, thank you for all your amazing work and what you've done here. Plus Sue Mazzarella's shelter team and Catholic Charities and Father Bill's Mainspring. It was Emily who brought that all together for us. In addition, State Representative Jim Hawkins, as you've heard, and his legislative director, Tara Major, have worked tirelessly with Susan Lee to help us find this ideal location for this project. And then Representative Hawkins secured multiple significant budget earmarks to hire the lawyers and accountants and consultants that the nonprofit needed to move forward. And Jim and Tara are already working diligently on the next housing project for the collaborative here in Attleboro. It's absolutely amazing. Plus, multiple evangelical Christian churches of Attleboro have given over $10,000 to outfit the new shelter with bed linens and supplies. Members of the Attleboro Rotary Club donated an amazing $66,000 for outfitting the apartments. So many people and organizations had a hand in launching this amazing community resource. The result, after 5 years of work, is not only a fully funded, fully staffed, 18-bed, year-round shelter for women and men, but also the 22 permanent supportive housing units for our neighbors transitioning out of homelessness. So we're grateful, we're very grateful for all who have played a role, large or small, in making Sue Smith's dream come true. In a few weeks, we will dedicate a memorial stone here out front in her name, in memory of Sue's gentle kindness and her visionary leadership that gave birth to this project. So a huge thank you this morning to each of you who have helped, and may God bless each of you for your kindness and your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. You know, Mahasa has been a leader and a leading voice on the issue of chronic homelessness across the state for decades. We're honored and pleased to have the CEO of Mahasa here to speak and tell us a little bit about some of the funding, including MASH, and what I'll let her tell you what that acronym stands for. Please join me in welcoming the CEO of Mahasa, Joyce Tabon.
Good morning, everyone. So I am pleased to represent the Massachusetts Alliance for Supportive Housing, or MASH, today. And that's a partnership of my organization, Mahasa, Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance, United Way of Mass Bay, and the National Corporation for Supportive Housing, or CSH. So we are coming together to advance solutions to homelessness, such as supportive housing. And nearly 3 years ago, you may remember there was federal ARPA money that came into our state, and some of our champions in the state legislature who are here today played a critical role in saying we need some of those dollars to go to addressing the ending of chronic homelessness through advancing supportive housing. So 15 million through MASH was our role to get out the door. We were especially targeting projects by new developers and in underserved areas. Now, in this case, what stood out about this project, it's an experienced and seasoned developer in NeighborWorks, but two things really stood out. This is an area, this region, that really has been underserved, and we wanted to get that investment here for supportive housing, and this amazing community collaboration that you heard about today. You know, I have to say, as I was driving down here today and heard on the radio about some of those anti-camping bans that are happening in other cities across the state, and I appreciate it is really frustrating. People are seeing growing tent encampments and rising homelessness, and it creates a lot of frustration for communities. But here, as you've heard, you have a community that is focused on the solutions, and that's what we want to be about. So I'm really pleased that we were able to invest in this project, also get some added resource to NeighborWorks so they can continue to do more projects like this. And I'm not going to try to top the other speakers here with my words, but I will say this, Rob. So one of the other things that we do at Mahasa is we administer what's known as the Home and Healthy for Good funding. That is flexible funding and a lot of the kind of drive to create supportive housing. We had some resources that we needed to reallocate, and I am pleased to say we're going to be able to fill that one-time gap that everyone reached out to us. I'll leave it at that.
That's great. We never put the funders last, right? Let's move them up the front. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you for all your work and support of this project. It's really, that's very, very good news. So thank you for that. Our next and final speaker is Roger Herzog, who's been one of the keys to our real estate development success at NeighborWorks. CDAC provides crucial first-in technical assistance and pre-development funding to all community development corporations in the state. In addition, CDAC administers direct project funding for developments like this one here in Attleboro. And as a CDC, we've relied on this funding and support for decades. We've also relied on this leader for just as long. Roger has been a giant in this space for many years and a true champion of empowering neighborhood-based community developers to create miraculous projects like the one you see here today. I've had the honor of introducing Roger many times before, but this will be my last time, as he's retiring at the end of the year. On behalf of NeighborWorks and our board of directors, I want to thank Roger for the trust, the partnership, for investing in NeighborWorks and our mission. You've helped us make the impossible possible for so many households and your impact in this space will never be forgotten. Please join me in welcoming the person with the greatest hair in community development financing, the Executive Director of CDAC, Roger Herzog.
Thank you very much, Rob. That was unexpected. So I'm the final speaker, and you've all been very patient, and I have been truly inspired by all of the speakers. This is why I love coming to these events, because we work statewide, we work downtown Boston, and you have to come out to the communities. You have to see the housing that we're getting built and hear these incredible stories of how these projects come about. I'm always encouraging my staff to get out and see this. And on that note, I want to recognize the CDAC staff person who actually did the heavy lifting here, Will Morgan, who's our senior project manager. Thank you, Will. I will be quick. I want to congratulate the board and staff of NeighborWorks Housing Solutions for the near completion of this very important supportive housing development here in Attleboro. Major gratitude to the Lieutenant Governor and the Healy-Driscoll administration for their important and sustained commitment to affordable housing. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, we've heard from Chris Thompson, plays an enormous role, and we are very grateful to you, to the legislative delegation, Representative Hawkins, Senator Feeney, the legislative support that you have given to the affordable housing programs that fund these projects. These funds are deployed right here. That's how these things get built. And thank you to the city for the welcome that you've given to this project. CDAC's had a decades-long, as Rob said, an enduring relationship with NeighborWorks. We've worked on a range of affordable and supportive housing programs serving this region of the state. It has been a wonderful collaboration. NeighborWorks is a great real estate developer and affordable housing provider, and we are so proud of this relationship with you, Rob. And we also salute your partners in this endeavor, and especially your service providers, Father Bill's and Catholic Social Services. I just have to say, this model of combining shelter and permanent housing, Yazwinski and his team really dreamed this up. This is the third one that I'm aware of in the region, and I think the state. First one in Quincy, second one in Brockton, and now here in Attleboro. John, thank you for your creativity and your commitment to addressing the needs of our unhoused population. So this work continues. I've heard so many great words, including hope. I want you to know that CDAC, right now, we're working on 100 affordable housing developments across the state. This is a very active period. There is a lot of funding that is in play that the Lieutenant Governor has referred to. And as you also heard, some of the funds that are being invested in this project really date to the American Rescue Plan. Joyce just mentioned it, ARPA. These funds, which were approved by Congress and then by the legislature several years ago. Of course, when you're funding the development of new projects, it takes a while to get these projects underway. And we are now in the second year of a 3-year deployment of over $100 million of these ARPA funds into supportive housing across the Commonwealth, and several million of those dollars are right here in Attleboro. So congratulations to everyone. We are thrilled to be a part of this, and we look forward to continuing this work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I'd like to invite the electeds and Lieutenant Governor to come up real quick. We have something for Roger. and we'd like to take a photo.
As we wind up the year, this might be the last time that Roger and I are in the same room, and we wanted to really pay tribute to the work that he does. As you heard earlier, CDAC is that first-in funder, like so critical. You have an idea, maybe it's even a crazy idea to build housing, and somebody's got to help make sure you've got the resources to buy it, to hold it while you're permitting, while you're flushing it all out. And that's the role that CDAC plays. It's critical. There's not an affordable housing project that moves forward, frankly, that doesn't have some involvement with CDAC along the way. And Roger's been there for 25 years, and I really want to just take a moment on behalf of the residents of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to confer upon you a governor's citation in recognition of your service to the community development field. As a nonprofit practitioner, municipal housing director, and notably as a quasi-public state agency director at CDAC for 25 years of dedicated service, we commend your quiet leadership, your inclusive nature, your diligent focus on the mission of providing financial and technical assistance to nonprofit organizations working to meet the needs in the areas of affordable housing and early child care. We also should have included and having a great head of hair. Which is true. You epitomize the meaning and the phrase of public servant, and we want to officially recognize your commitment to your community and to all of our communities with this governor's citation. Team photo.
This is the good kind of citation, right?
Yes.
If I can just get you guys right here.
Okay, so just a couple of last thank yous, and we'll be going to cut the ribbon out in front here. Again, I want to thank Roger, of course. I want to thank O'Reilly Auto Parts for letting us use their parking for so long. The Church of God of Attleboro, they've been an amazing partner here. We've literally been using their parking lot the entire construction. Thank you so much for that. And a special thank you to the Rotary Club of Attleboro for donating over $60,000 in sponsorships for each and every unit in this building. Lastly, as was mentioned, this is going to be dedicated to the memory of Sue Smith, and we're joined here by her other daughter, Cynthia Mitchell. Where's Cynthia? Please raise your hand. Thank you, Cynthia. And we'll be keeping Sue in our memory here for decades to come with the memorial out front. So, thank you all for coming. It's great to see you. Please, it's open. There's probably some more coffee still in there, but we're going to have the electeds go right out front so we can cut a ribbon. And NeighborWorks board members, please, and Susan and John and so on. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.